Do you have something particular in mind?
Not specifically. I had kind of the idea of something similar we've done with Tanya, three of us, after we recorded Samatha Vipassana.
Yeah.
The other one.
Yeah.
More questioning. And the thing I had in mind is to ask you about the body.
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
What's the body? So, a lump of flesh and bone.
How do you know
sitting
that?
here.
Is that how you see it?
So right now I'm kind of, it's this kind of...
So from your point of view,
Yeah.
which is the only point of view you can have,
Yeah.
abstaining from assuming the external explanatory point of view, what is the body in your experience here and now? When you say my body, what are you designating?
That's the thing, I have these ideas of it being
Sure.
matter, muscle and
See,
all that
you
stuff.
just said, I have those ideas of it being matter. What is the it of it, without resorting to the external ideas of what it is? What is the it?
It's this thing that was like that makes it all of this possible for me to be sitting here talking to you.
True.
Perceiving all this, hearing all
But
this.
that's another secondary idea to it. Like you don't see that possibility when you look at it.
No, but I do.
You learn that about it, and
Yeah.
it's accurate, but it's not it.
But I do think of it as like the extent of my experience that make the kind of
Yeah. Again, as I said, once you think about it,
having thought about it, that's what I've sort of those are the
So
ideas I have.
having not thought about it in terms of all the relevant ideas that pertain to it, when I ask you, it, the body, what is it? What are you referring to? Is it felt, perceived? What is it? How, where, why? What are its characteristics of the it aspect of the body? Not the ideas and aspect that you have about it.
Okay, so it's perceived in various ways.
So the body
like
right here, right now,
right
that
now.
you have while you're talking to me,
Yeah.
is perceived in various ways.
Yeah.
What ways?
So well, I can see it. I can see this. I don't tend to normally look down.
Okay, so if you close your eyes, is it still there?
No. Well, sorry, it as the body, yes, of course.
The body, yeah.
Yeah.
So then, what is that one? It's independent of your sight.
It's the kind of, let's say, the center of the perspective.
Okay, go on. What are the characteristics of?
So it's like, so that's not so relevant now, I was thinking, but sometimes it's like, it's to do with like things I'm doing, things I'm like the only reason why I would reach over there and make a coffee is because the body's made that way, like to have a drink and to.
So then, usage of the body
Yeah.
is secondary to the body.
But it's fully determined by that. It's fully made up. It is the way it is because that's the way the body is.
What is way it is? Because
The way I'm acting is just bodily. It's just like that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's secondary to the body. The only way you can act is the ways that are possibly outlined by the possibilities of the body. Yeah. But okay, that's also it's a characteristic, but it's secondary characteristic. Yeah. What would be the primary characteristics of it, the way it is right here, right now, in your presently enduring experience?
I guess, well...
Like, whatever ambiguous terminology you might end up using, doesn't matter, use it, as long as you sort of approximate to what it is.
I was thinking then of something that's alive, something that's
So, just in case, I don't know, but don't try to figure it out, but more like just try to keep your mind on it.
Yeah, I was trying to
see what comes out of it.
I'm trying to then say something about like just this being alive.
What's the most obvious characteristic that would first pop to your mind if you're like it, like my body right here, right now? Okay, I have the secondary thoughts about it. I have the memories of the visual images of my body from my point of view, but all of that refers to something, and that something, that thing, that it.
That
what is the characteristic
container?
right here, right now? So it's a kind of container. What kind of, how would you describe a container? Supposedly, but just in itself, not the purpose, not the possibilities, just in itself.
So, stuff, matter, that's an aspect of it.
Is there a feeling? Yeah, okay, there's one thing.
That's an aspect of it.
So is there a feeling? Can you imagine the container, the body, presently enduring there, or whatever it is, without also there being a feeling present?
No. In fact, that's the only reason why I know there's this container there, is because of these perceptions and feelings. That's why I was originally talking about perceived perceptions.
Yeah. But again, all that can be discerned on account of it. So I'm asking about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, like, you go into perceptions and they become explanations, even not necessarily rooted in the right things. But the point here is, I want your mind to remain rooted on the experience of it is, to the extent that it is, and it being the body in this case. You can use that contemplation in regard to anything, feeling, mind, whatever. But now we're doing about the body.
Yeah.
So you touch upon matter, relate to matter. Can you describe that more? Present enduring body, material.
It's just like a lump, or it's something that resists.
Something that resists. So would you say that it matter resists you to that extent? Is that the matter that resists you?
Yeah, it seems to be the closest bit of matter that resists me.
The closest bit of matter that resists you.
Or the most important.
Yeah.
The most.
Sure.
The closest, yeah.
Saying the closest bit of matter that resists you implies further bits of matter?
Yeah, because...
What are the further bits of matter?
Well, I can, I'm stuck in this room, or I'm supported by this chair. That's all kind of resistance.
Right. But
that seems to be... That seems to be secondary, because it's experienced via this bit of matter.
And also furthermore, is it that you experience the secondary matter through this matter?
No.
How do you know that?
Yeah.
Since already your experience of your body is already a secondary experience of the matter.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's not
the body against the chair, it's just this feeling of...
So when you said that the body is basically the, how did you put it? It's the matter that resists you, the first matter that resists you. It's the only matter that resists you.
Yeah.
You cannot possibly know any other matter. You cannot possibly know any other matter. So the body, the lump of flesh, whichever way you described it, whichever way you designated it, as presently enduring right here, right now. So that material aspect, to the extent that it's material, is there any other accessible or experienced matter outside of that aspect that you can even
experienced matter outside.
Can you experience
of
the matter except apart from your body?
Well, no, you just have perceptions of, and then you can secondarily assume that that's because there's matter there.
Assume.
Yeah.
So, does that mean, like, if you stop assuming that there is matter there, those things would cease to be material? Or what would happen then?
No, it doesn't need that assumption there.
It doesn't need. So then your perceptions would basically stop assuming matter.
Mm-hmm.
Or as the Buddha said, the perception would stop conceiving the matter. And that's the whole point. There is no like the real matter you need to figure out. You just need to stop mistaking it. On the level of a perception, Mula Pariyaya Sutta starts, he perceives earth as earth.
Yeah.
Having perceived earth, he conceives in earth, from earth. So the and then the Seka and the Arahant, he directly knows, or he understands earth. Yeah. So you realize that the perception of Putujana, that's already what his ignorance is.
Yeah.
So that's another idea, that people who know that they don't have the right view, so person knows he's not a Sotapanna, but thinks that he can practice the Dhamma by observing his perceptions, by perceiving things purely.
Yeah.
I mean, you heard it millions of times in Dhamma talks and whatnot, the pure awareness, the pure perception, the purity of the present moment. That is already, your purity is already ignorant.
Yeah.
The perception already misconceives, or conceives. Any form of conceiving is misconceiving.
Yeah.
And it's the lack of the clarity of that, that's how you perpetuate the mistake of conceiving, and then whatever else you build up on top of that misconceived perception, it cannot be right. And that's why Mula Pariyaya Sutta goes to the point of saying, he perceives Nibbana as Nibbana, but because he perceives it as in ignorantly, he conceives in it, apart from it, he conceives Nibbana as mind.
It implies himself.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter what you perceive. And that's another thing when people are perceiving and observing their sensations, their movements, body postures. It's all on the basis of perceiving, expecting the reality to come as a result of it, failing to see that it's the actual perceiving that's the problem, not what you're perceiving.
Yeah, and they're perceiving, that perceiving always would imply a self, would imply it's always taken for granted.
It will have to be, yeah. Why? Because you're not seeing perceiving to be fully within the container of present enduring. It is. Experience as a whole, the body, it is.
Yeah.
And the only way you can designate it is, as in the body is also to perceive it. So that you realize that's where your whole practice is.
Yeah.
Stop misconceiving it through your perception. In other words, learn how to perceive it on its own terms, not on the terms of your own conceiving it.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the purification the Buddha talks about.
But that will require then to see
understanding of the it in the nature, the characteristics.
The characteristic of this it that will help uncut that perception is the fact that it is given.
So you realize the only reason you're conceiving things
thrown at me.
You're conceiving things through a perception is through not understanding that your conceiving makes no difference.
Yeah.
Matter is there mattering, perception is there perceiving, feelings are there feeling. You not fully understanding that, that's why the whole notion of conceiving, which means I am, mine, for me, and so on. And it's completely gratuitous, that entire thing. So if you want to do like the mindfulness of the body, meditation or contemplation, that's what it is. Clarifying what the phenomenon of presently enduring it is, the body is for me, without misconceiving it through my carelessly attending to it, basically, careless attention. Not looking closely enough and then just building my practice on top of whatever I took for granted, which is the way I perceive things. Because it will just perpetuate the wrong views further. So the presently enduring this body, that's another thing. Can you be aware of this presently enduring body right here, right now, in the past or in the future?
No.
It's always where your present is.
Yeah.
Can you Can you
I have.
leave it for a while and then come back to it, as in you really leave the container of that body, the necessity of it
Yeah.
for its experience. So you can't
No.
escape it.
Yeah. It's inescapable.
It's in its, so then any past that you remember, any future that you plan, where is it?
It's all in this. Here is.
It's within this it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there then any need for you to come back to the body, to the present moment?
Well, no, because
Because you couldn't have left in the first
you're already
place.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you practicing returning back to the present moment, which is another relatively common practice,
Yes.
maintains your view that you can leave the present moment.
Yeah.
That you left the present moment when you started ignoring it. It implies that you can step into the outside, even if you blame it for your distraction. You still assume that it is possible to go that way,
Yeah.
but you can't. Whether you're inside or outside, past, future, present, far, near, big or small, as the Buddha would describe it, the body is there.
Mhm.
That's why Satipatthana is understanding body, mindfulness of the body to the extent necessary for final knowledge. To develop that mindfulness, because that's what mindfulness is, an enduring phenomenon of mind established upon the body, regardless of the past, regardless of the future,
Yeah.
regardless of the present actions.
Understanding that it endures.
Understanding that it's not optional.
Yeah.
You cannot replace it. You cannot step outside of it. You can
And then
only
it-
what
then
you can
it-
only do is ignore it, and by doing so, you become the owner of it through misconceiving it. Or you can stop ignoring it, and by doing so, you stop misconceiving it,
Yeah.
and you remove your ownership because you realize it's impossible to own it. And again, that presently enduring it is the basis, the container, whatever you want to call it, of any conceivable, even utter, abstract, imaginative experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So any.
But the question that comes up now, so is the body, that body that you're describing that's presently enduring, is that the matter?
No. Well, that's an image.
It's an image.
Yeah.
But how does it then resisting you?
Well, it is.
How?
How? Because that image was thrust upon me. I didn't ask for that image.
That image of the body is thrust upon you. Where is that image?
Where is it? It's under the sofa. No.
Yeah.
It's okay. If you want to say where, it's like. No, where's the image?
Yeah, where is it? Where would you place it?
I won't place it anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Asking where is it implies that it's in somewhere.
Yeah.
The whole notion of space is the result of that present enduring container
Exactly,
of the image.
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
So that's the division between here and yonder, as in the sense objects.
Yeah.
Either way, things are already there, enduring.
All notions of where it is comes after
Secondary to it.
to the fact that this image is.
So dwelling on that will basically prevent
yeah.
you from placing it gratuitously
Yeah.
in space, outside of me,
Yeah.
inside of me.
Yeah.
It's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Because that's what the Buddha would say. He stops assuming it here, yonder, or in between the two.
Yeah.
Like, oh, both and neither.
Yeah.
He's free from conceiving in every
And-
regard.
And any notion of kind of expectancy,
Mm-hmm.
kind of waiting or hoping or
For a result or something.
exactly, anything like that, always
Implies
involves
outside.
an image of something
Yeah.
outside of this body.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, given that practically you cannot even conceive outside, as in fundamentally,
Yeah.
but practically you maintain the view of expectation of something from outside,
Yeah.
you realize you directly conceived outside.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
solely responsible for the existence of the notion of outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unless you address that,
Yeah.
absolutely no amount of your effort can result in the right practice.
Yeah.
Because that's what the right practice is. Undoing the conceivings, undoing the wrong views. So the presently then enduring body is then material and mental at the same time, depending on how you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
As in there is an image,
Yeah.
which is, it's already a phenomenon, it's already an image, it's already a form of thought, but it wouldn't be there if it weren't dependent on matter as well.
Mm.
So then your only relationship, your first port of call in the experience of the body as a whole, right, this body here, is a present enduring image that's kind of rooted in something else, not you.
Yeah.
You are secondary to it. And now that's where your conceivings come in, trying to repossess where it is rooted in. Because that gives you the sense of ownership and control. But doesn't matter how much you try to reach where it is rooted, as in the material side of the present enduring body.
So you might own that.
Doesn't matter how far you have to you try and reach.
Yeah.
It's always step below you. It's always determined as a step away from your effort. Inconceivable to be otherwise. That's what I said. Traveling the universe will never reach the end of it. So then the only way to repossess the necessary basis for this present enduring body, thus become the owner of it, is to pretend that you reached that because of which the body is. It's to conceive it. Oh yeah, this is the matter. Things that I'm actually secondarily only can access, not even access, but relate to through the body, I assume it's that because of which this body is here. And look, I own this, thus I own this body, thus I am my own master in control of my experience. That's why sickness, aging and death, the most uprooting, basically contemplations you can have.
That make you realise that.
Because it's not uprooting this body or that body. It's not uprooting the image of the body that you have of yourself in the mirror or whatever. It's uprooting this currently perceived and felt lump of the universe that you are. You cannot conceive outside of it, so it's only your relationship within it. That's what the body is, and that's what is subjected to destruction and change. So is that present enduring body still there?
It is. I can't imagine it not being there.
So what are any other characteristics come to your mind? Again, just not theoretically, present enduring. You have the body, whether you're talking, whether you're listening what I'm saying, whether you're replying, there is the body enduring there. What image? As in, what are the characteristics now of that which you established is a mental material image?
The characteristics of that image that I'm kind of, well, like I said before, like I'm subjected to it
entirely, utterly, completely. Which means
I didn't design this. I'm just, all I do when I talk to you about it is describe something that's already there.
But so within that that image that you said it resists you, the manifestation of that resistance means basically a degree of independence towards you.
Indifference. That's why it could just die any minute. It doesn't care.
Oh yeah, of course. It's completely unaware of you. Exactly. So if you were to say develop that context of the necessary basis of your experience of any conceivable kind, doesn't even know about your existence. You don't exist for it. Would that be a true statement to say that the basis of this present enduring lump of flesh, which is mental material basically, it's a phenomenon enduring the Dhamma, doesn't even know about my attempts at ownership and stuff because it's impenetrable by me, inaccessible. Would you be able then, if that statement is true, which obviously it is, even after a little bit of thinking, would you then, or rather not would you, but more like, so why are you still then subjected to passion, lust, aversion, desire for distraction?
I guess because that context hasn't been established clearly enough.
What context?
What you just described of this.
But why would you need to establish it when you said it's already there and you have no choice but have it there?
Yeah, but it's...
What is it exactly that you're establishing then?
It's like I find that that recognising that image, that context, is like recognising something that's already there, but that I don't always remember. I don't always... But
as we described before,
cover
whether you get distracted by your past, future, whatever else, you can't actually be distracted from it. So how is then your forgetting of it,
ignoring.
how is then your ignoring
Yeah.
preventing you from understanding it?
Because that seems
Why
to
is
be,
your ignoring
that seems
a factor?
that seems to be what ignoring does. Ignoring, then the de facto response, if you're ignoring, is to assume ownership over something, which
Sure.
we've just
you
cleared.
can't own.
You can't own.
Yeah. So what is that ownership then if you can't own it?
It's wrong. It's completely confused.
Yeah.
It's
So why is it then still there?
a good question.
What do you think? So if it's
Because
impossible
there's
to step
obviously-
outside of present enduring
Yeah.
moment of the present enduring mental material image of the body,
there's obviously an element of wanting to own it because there's a pleasure in it.
that doesn't matter. Wanting to own it makes no difference to the body that's unaware of you.
I know. Yeah.
So wanting to own it, not wanting to own it, accepting it, rejecting it, acting out of it makes
It's
absolutely no
irrelevant.
difference to
It's
the matter,
absolutely
to the
irrelevant
form.
to the body, Because
So
it's
why is it still
completely-
there? That's my question then.
Yeah.
Why is it still there?
All I can say is just because of not having accepted that the nature of the body.
Not having seen it
seen
sufficiently enough.
Yeah.
Not having seen it long enough.
Yeah.
Or as the Buddha said, not having seen it to the extent necessary
Yeah.
for final knowledge.
Yeah.
So in other words, you haven't been seeing it long enough, literally, that it's impossible to ignore it.
Yeah.
And by virtue of that, that's why you're ignoring it.
Yeah.
But now the question is, so why are you then not seeing it sufficiently enough? Or in other words, since distraction can't take you away from the necessary base of your experience for distraction, or non-distraction, or whatever you choose to do, how do you go about seeing it to the extent necessary? Seeing the body to the extent necessary for the final knowledge of removing all this passion towards it.
Just, I guess, that's like dwelling, reminding myself about the nature of. So, no
But
matter
then
what.
the reminding of yourself,
Yeah.
why would you be doing that? Because it implies that you can forget.
I know. Yeah. Exactly. So.
Can you forget?
Well, that's the thing. There obviously is a forgetting involved.
So
in
what
not
is
seeing
okay? So
not seeing it for long enough.
how would you? What are the characteristics of forgetting?
Generally.
No, specifically. This particular
okay.
instance. Like losing your mindfulness.
Yeah, losing mindfulness. Yeah. So.
What constitutes
then-
loss of mindfulness if the mindfulness is
It's
present in enduring body
Yeah.
that's there, whether you think of it or not,
Yeah.
whether past, future, whatever memories you have, it's there primarily. You
Mm.
cannot conceive experience outside of it or independent of it. So, given that it's unforgettable, how can you forget about it?
By assuming that you can forget about it.
And how do you do that practically?
Um,
How does that manifest practically?
but just ignoring it, by just not looking at it, by
Well, again, not
Pretending
looking at
to-
it. So it's there.
yeah.
So you cannot truly not look at it.
Yeah. Well, no, you can not look at it in the sense that you can choose to ignore the background.
Again, I choose to ignore this.
Yeah.
Means it's still there.
It is still there.
So you can't really ignore it.
Well,
So you attempting at ignoring, what is that involved? What does that involve?
Doing something that you can't do.
Well, that implies that you're doing something you can't actually do, yet you commit to it, to do it. What is the necessary basis for that type of commitment? Of ignoring the unignorable? No, more practically. What is a common ground to whenever you choose to ignore or engage with something, although you know you can't own it, you can't have it, yet you do it?
A lack of authenticity, bad faith.
Okay, again, that's on the level of the view. Practically, like say you want to distract yourself now. Why would you do that? When you decide to, or remember, whenever you decided to distract yourself, why did you distract yourself? What was the reason for that? It's not that, because I'm inauthentic. No, none of those can be your motivations. Because it's what is pleasant? Doing it. So, or you see it as pleasant. Which means it's always basically a matter of choice upon how you feel. So that's why forgetfulness is not a problem. Genuinely forgetting things, it's within present enduring mindfulness of the mental material body. It's the choice you make within that, which means you're fully aware of it, that is rooted in how you feel, which is basically a choice rooted in desire. That's the common ground. Desire for more, desire for less, desire for neither. That's why the Buddha didn't say like, oh, you don't forget every moment of your life, watch every second of your life. No, he just said avoid unwholesome and cultivate wholesome. Don't choose anything rooted in greed, aversion and distraction, and it will result in what? It will result in you ceasing to maintain gratuitous notion of ignoring that which is unignorable. And that's why once you fully develop that, you cannot ignore it again. So that's why the process of uprooting ignorance is utterly, completely irreversible. You cannot then start ignoring. Why? Because what you thought ignoring was, as in when you just forget, or you decided something, you're doing something else, you can't think of everything to the same extent at all times. But you thought that was the reason for your ignorance. It wasn't. The desire is. And that is always conscious. You can never accidentally stumble upon decisions rooted in desire, actions that you perform on account of desire, whether for more, for less, aversion, delusion, distraction, whatever. And that's why the reason why I'm coming back to this is because that's pretty much like one of the main stumbling blocks for whoever starts, or even like later to develop it, is assuming that you must be in this, like maintain this clarity of this is unhonorable, this is unhonorable, this is unhonorable every second of your life, which kind of implies that you can still lose it. But you realize, no, you don't lose it when you don't think about it. You don't lose it when you go to sleep. You don't lose it when you choose to do something that's not rooted in greed, aversion, delusion. And that's another thing, because when people don't know where the problem is, then they blame everything to be the problem. I mustn't do anything. Isn't that craving? Isn't that a desire? Well, I want to go for, well, that's craving. Oh, well, that's attachment. It isn't. What craving is, what desire is, what attachment is, whatever you want to call it, is what you decide to act upon desire, upon aversion, or upon need for distraction. When you choose to act on account of how you feel, in regard to how you feel. So you feel pleasantly, you want to protect it, you want to have more of it, you choose to act. Now, having thoughts of protecting it is not on the same level as choosing to act out of it. And that's how you maintain this completely gratuitously, wrongly assumed order that we just described, that it's actually unassumable. That's how you maintain your gratuitous ownership as well, of things that you know are unownable. Yet your ownership is there because you still don't know what the basis for that ownership is, and you're carelessly maintaining the base of the ownership. And then if you look at the base of the ownership, you say, it's not having enough mindfulness, it's distraction, it's this, it's this, it's this. But none of that is fully understood to the point of, like as I said, distraction is not forgetting. Distraction is basically choosing to distract yourself through the means of desire, through the means of aversion, through the means of distraction. That's what distraction is. So if you're about to do something, I must stop doing. No, I must know where it is rooted.
Mm.
That's how I will stop maintaining the basis. Because you can't stop doing things. Because that's another doing that you start doing.
Yeah. So am I doing this in order to, because of a particular feeling in regard to how I'm feeling right now? Like
basically, if you're acting out of how you're feeling, based on that lack of context, you're going to be acting out of craving.
If you what, sorry?
If you're acting on the basis of how you're feeling,
yes,
you will be acting out of craving.
Yeah, without clarity, without context.
So if you're acting, as I said, like, see, people are not even aware of many of the actions, because you're only aware of the ones that are based on your desire or things you want, but you do million of things in the meantime. You open the door, you close the door. All of those are little choices that you make. They are kind of neither wholesome nor unwholesome, which means they're not unwholesome.
Yeah.
Which means you can do it. You don't have to get paralyzed about what do I do then, what do I do, because all the doing is the problem. No. Specific type of doing that's rooted in desire, doing that's rooted in craving in regard to how you're presently feeling while you're doing it, those are the ones you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
That's what I said, let those, like when the monks some monks tried to make those austere practices mandatory for everybody should say no to this, everybody should say, he says no. Let those who want to say no to such and such life say no to that, to like living in the roof dwellings. So let those who want to eat 1 meal a day eat 1 meal a day. Let those who want to wear hemp robes wear hemp robes, and those who don't want to not do it. Because what specifically you're doing only goes so far, as in you specifically must abstain from sensual indulgence, chasing sense pleasures, sexual intercourse, and all these other things if you want full enlightenment. But that doesn't mean like you remain like a motionless log for the rest of your life until you become an arahant. No, it means that you just don't do things that are rooted in desire. And that's another the simile of the bait, the herd sutta in the Majjhima. The bait about the deer herd. Yeah, the first one just takes everything, the second one rejects everything. And then the wise one is the one that realizes, no, so you have to eat, as in you have to act, you have to remain engaged to some extent in terms of breathing, walking, sitting, lying down. All of those are choices you make. It's only the choices that are rooted in desire, which is basically craving in regard to how you feel. That's what you don't do. And that's why Mara will be unable to see you. And that's why you will become free. Not because you stopped eating, you removed all that's attachment.
And no one will see the difference. No one else.
And externally nobody can measure you. Exactly. Including Devas and Brahmas can't measure you because you don't manifest. Let alone Putujana will be able to see you and pay you respects. They have no criteria for what enlightenment is. How can they possibly know? And that's why it's so important, because unless you clarify this, the characteristics of the present enduring body right here, right now, even when you forget, when you remember, you realize this is there. This is a necessary basis for any experience, including experience of forgetting, including the experience of desire. So it's not about uprooting and finding this universal kind of hidden truth that holds the whole setup on its palm, and now you got it all basically because you transcended everything. No, it's what you were given. Stop misconceiving it, and you stop misconceiving it when you fully understood that it's impossible to misconceive it. As in, whether you conceive it or not makes no difference. Things are like this, to this extent. That's what the law of impermanence and these things, like the universal principles. And now I say, okay, so how do I stop misconceiving it? Oh, by not being forgetful and so on. Yeah, but why is forgetfulness the problem? Why It's because of the desire.
Yeah, I guess the tendency is to kind of, when you suddenly become mindful, let's say, you might go, oh yeah, I've not been mindful for a while. I must be mindful from now on. Yeah. Rather than recognizing that, hang on a minute, I'm mindful of something now that can't not have been there even while I wasn't being mindful.
Exactly. So instead of you, when you become mindful, developing the view that that's what mindfulness is,
Yeah.
and you have to develop more of it,
Yeah.
instead, don't take that view and start questioning further that which you discovered through your first attempt at mindfulness. So when a person has a first attempt at mindfulness, they have a set of how it's felt, how it's perceived, what are its characteristics, and they take it for granted now.
Yeah.
Now the whole point is to not take and keep going inwardly, as in digging inwardly further and further, not like, oh no, now I know what mindfulness is, now I just need to develop this mindfulness that I know what it is, to the extent necessary to be an arahant. No, the extent necessary means the extent necessary of understanding it to the necessary extent.
Yeah, but mindfulness is about... Yes, it's like...
For most people, they think, like even Putujana knows what mindfulness is, it's just when you're present.
No, it's recognising a phenomenon, but you have to understand what that phenomenon is in order to...
Exactly, so you're properly mindful once you understand what mindfulness is.
Yeah.
So you develop that understanding to the extent necessary, that's how all the unwholesome things will fall off.
Or can you say you're only mindful of the body when you understand what the body is?
Yes, mindfulness is the body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not you doing it.
Yeah.
Understanding of the necessary base for experience is what mindfulness is. That's why the four foundations of mindfulness, basically understanding the four foundations of your experience is the four foundations of mindfulness. That's the point I'm making, is people think they can do mindfulness, do meditation technique, do their observance. And the only reason they can do it is because they conceive them as doable. And that's why they'll never uproot that wrong view for as long as they do it like that. So fully understanding the necessary basis of your experience that presently endures, whether you ignore it or not, makes your mindfulness imperturbable. Whatever comes, I mean literally. If mindfulness, the Buddha said, if mindfulness is properly developed, like things of extreme nature will not be able to perturb it, because again, it doesn't matter how extreme, big, small, far, near, heavy, light, whatever your experience is, this is presently enduring, there is a necessary basis for it. This the lump of body, which is your universe, which is your whole container, which is like has nothing, there is no relationship of that you can conceive on the same footing as it is, as that body. Everything you can conceive, it's towards, against, before, after it, but nothing on the level of it. That's why even you can't put it in space and say it's in my head, or it's in, if you do assume that, means you're not seeing its nature. So any movement in regard to it will be secondary, and that was never a problem. It's not that I must stop moving, because that will become your movement. The point is, stop misconceiving that which is inconceivable, or stop conceiving the inconceivable. What is inconceivable? Form is inconceivable, feeling is inconceivable, perception is inconceivable, your intentions are inconceivable, consciousness is inconceivable. Inconceivable means you have removed your misconceivings. Because when people inconceivable, they fail to see that that becomes their new conceiving. You can't think the inconceivable. You can only stop conceiving it. And you stop conceiving it not by developing pure awareness to the presently enduring magical moment of your mindfulness.
Perceiving it.
You basically stop conceiving it through acting out of desire, acting out of craving, acting out of intentional choice of ignorance. And that's why it's doable. It's not like, when will enlightenment happen to me? I've been doing it for 20... If you've been doing it for 20 years and you don't even have the right view, you're obviously doing it wrong. Because as the Buddha said, it's impossible, if somebody's doing these things rightly, for the results to not take place. Like if a hen sits on her eggs, even if she doesn't wish, may my chicks pierce out of the shell safely, they will, because she sits on them. But if a hen thinks she's sitting on her eggs, but no chicks are piercing out, maybe she should reevaluate what constitutes sitting.
Maybe I'm sitting in the wrong place.
But no, it is like, again, like, what is the purpose of your practice, of any form of commitment to the Dhamma, as a lay person or as a monk? Okay, you want to achieve something. Okay, how are you going about it? But it's, I want to achieve, so I have no lack of clarity of what I want, further lack of clarity of how I'm going about it, and yet here I am, fully committed to my meditation retreat and practice, and just expect things to occur to me, and measure basically success by the experience of pleasure I get from it.
Yeah.
So is the it body that we started describing this?
Yeah. Still there.
Furthermore, are its have its characteristics changed?
No.
Exactly. That's another reason why people mistake it into. She always remains the same.
Yeah.
So you start assuming it's unchangeable.
Yeah, I guess, or invisible. You just.
Oh, you stop seeing
Yeah,
it. Sure,
yeah.
sure. Yeah, that's actually that's even more so, isn't it? Yeah. So you're still subjected to it. It's still that a certain opaque lump that resists you.
Mm-hmm. That my whole life, everything depends on.
And it's still an image.
Yeah.
And you cannot even think anything. There you go. I can't even finish that sentence with applying an image.
Yeah.
Can you know that body if there is no image of it?
No.
Exactly.
That's the only means I have.
The only means are means that are already materially mental,
Yeah.
or mentally material.
Yeah.
That's nama rupa basically in its definition.
Yeah.
Like if there is no nama of it, if there is no designated aspect of the present enduring lump, it's inconceivable, as in it's not manifested.
Mm.
You can't whether conceive it or stop conceiving it, you can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
If there is nothing to be designated, that's when people say, it's all in your head, it's all in your mind. It isn't.
No, yeah.
It's all in your mind, or it's all in the world, are already on the level of your mind, which is mentally material.
Yeah.
Which is something you are subjected to.
So therefore there is that resistance aspect to it.
Yeah. Because you had no say in how that image manifests. In what you can only discern its given characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
If you truly were responsible for concocting it with your designation, with your naming, as people sometimes trying to blame the naming for the issue, you would then be responsible for the creation of its characteristics, which wouldn't be its characteristics then.
No, I was thinking
there would be no it to designate.
Yeah. Even like an artist, and if they draw some paint or something, if you ask them where did it come from, they say, "Oh, I just drew that thing that was
Sure.
I'm secondary, I didn't really create it."
No, that's the thing. Like as I said, all of the five aggregates are indifferent to you. Your feelings, your own intentions. If you were to, the way we examine the nature present during body, take up, it's slightly subtler to examine. So I usually just stick to the body, because people might be hearing this and just get, it's already hard enough. But if you do develop skills, you can do the same examination, the same type of reflection and contemplation in regard to your presently during intention. When you have intention to do something, what are the characteristics of the image that's a necessary container for your intention, which is the intention? You're subjected to it. You chose to attend it. You can only choose to attend that which is given. That's where the whole thing can be boiled down, as the Buddha said, to correctly attending things or incorrectly attending things. Not correctly manifesting and creating and fabricating, or incorrectly. No. It's just that which is given on its own, that which arises, manifests, which endures on its own. You have a choice to attend properly or improperly. Improper attention results in increasing of sensuality and decreasing of non-sensuality, increasing of hate and decreasing of non-hate, increasing of ignorance and decreasing of non-ignorance. Proper attention results in opposite. Decreasing of sensuality and increasing of non-sensuality. Decreasing of hate and increasing of non-hate. And decreasing of ignorance and increasing of non-ignorance. Whether you want it or not, it's not up to you. What is up to you is what you choose to attend to. Things rooted in desire or things rooted in non-desire. Things rooted in trying to change how you feel, or things rooted in not trying to change how you feel. So the only reason that the mind is still not free from gratuitous conceivings that are actually impossible to conceive is because of the choices you make. And is there anybody anywhere in the universe, in the past or in the future, other than you, that can be responsible for those choices?
Not at all.
Inconceivable.
No.
That's another inconceivable thing.
Yeah.
It's inconceivable that anybody else can be owner of your karma,
Yeah.
which is a choice, not a mystical energy, just in case people are not clear.
Mm.
So it's inconceivable, and that's what it's meant by it.
Mhm.
You are the sole owner of your choices and the results of those choices. The result being mind still not being free. That's a direct result of the choices that still entertain the extent of desire, the extent of aversion, the extent of distraction. So if a question is posed, why are you not an arahant yet? It's because you're preventing yourself from being one.
Mm.
Like, oh, so it's my fault then. Well, if you want to regard it a fault, sure. Doesn't matter how you label it. What matters is you're responsible for it. Because it will be impossible to not become an arahant if you stop making choices, stop acting out of choices, stop choosing basically things rooted in aversion, delusion and distraction. It will be impossible for the mind to remain unenlightened. It's inconceivable. That's why if you do 4 satipatthanas, as the Buddha said, which already means you know what they are, I mean, it already means you have a right view, it's like a one way only.
Yeah.
It will only have to result in what it cannot result in any other way.
Yeah. Okay, on the Mago one-way path.
Yeah.